the organs, and not so in detail their functions, which I will dictate today. So we'll go through the function and then we'll proceed with cell division. So yes, a quick summary of the last class. I think we started with yes, male reproductive system. Yes, over to you, Rabia. You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
We discussed about the male reproductive system. In those, we
Yes.
discussed about the primary, secondary, accessory, and reproductive duct.
Right.
The primary one is testes. The secondary one is penis. The accessory glands are prostate, seminal vesicle, bulbouteral, etc. And the reproductive ducts are
There's no etc. There are just these three. Okay. There are three accessory glands. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
And the reproductive ducts are epididymis, vas deferens, sperm duct, and the urethra. And then we also discussed about exocrine, endocrine, and then why testes are called dual organs.
Yes. Why are they called so?
Because they produce gametes and they also produce hormones, that is testosterone. And then exocrine glands, they synthesize the hormone somewhere and then they secrete it at a different place. And then we also discussed about cryptorchidism. It is a disorder where the testes fail to descend down into the scrotum before birth. And
so what is the corrective measure? Can anything be done in that case? In case of cryptorchidism, can anything be done? Is there any treatment for it?
Yeah, I guess.
I think we discussed that briefly. And if that is not possible, then what happens as a consequence? I think we also discussed that. So these things also you have to keep in mind. So if the only thing that can be done is surgically descending down the testes into the scrotum, and if that can't be done, or even if that can be done but not the chances are that the testes might not function properly. So in that case, the male stays infertile or sterile, right? The gamete forming capacity of the male goes down. And another question which we discussed was, why is testes located outside the abdominal cavity into the scrotum?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why is that?
It's because the testes are located outside. Because the spermatogenesis, it requires 2 to 4 degrees low temperature than the body temperature.
Yes, perfect. Great. Yes, and then we talked about the ducts. I told you what is the site of structural and functional maturation of sperms. What is that?
Seminiferous tubule.
Which site is seminiferous tubule? It's the site of structural maturation. What is the site of functional maturation of the sperms?
Epididymis.
Epididymis, right? And then we talked about the composition of seminal vesicle, prostate, and bulbourethral glands to make semen, which we will discuss in detail as we go forward. Okay, so Iram has also joined us. Good evening, Iram. How are you? It's time to turn on your microphones and cameras.
Yeah.
Yes, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Iram?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so Rabia was giving a quick summary of what we did in the last class, and I think we ended with, I gave you a homework to study mitosis, to just brush up mitosis, meiosis, which you have done in class 11th, and also brush up endocrine secretion, especially the hormones secreted by hypothalamus, pituitary, and the testes, right? So I'll just remove this part here. We'll start. I hope you went back and look at these things. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect, very good. So let's start with today's class. And so today we'll start with mitosis versus meiosis, just a brush up. So what is mitosis, Rabia? Quickly. So this is not a straight path. Thanks so much, Iram. Good to see you. This is not a direct part of this chapter, but as I told you, because my motive is also to prepare you for entrances, so to give you a holistic understanding of each and every concept of the chapter. This you have already studied in class 11th, right? Mitosis and meiosis. Sorry, in class 10th, in mitosis and meiosis, in the chapter called cell division, right? Cell and cell division was a chapter in your class 10th, if I'm not wrong. So you know about mitosis and meiotic division. So we are brushing it up because this concept is heavily used in class 12th, both in reproductive chapter units and also in genetics. Okay, when I'll be telling you about recombination in the gametes. So what is mitosis, Rabia?
Mitosis is also known as the equational division. And
okay. Okay, perfect. Mitosis, you said, is known as equational division. Okay. And what is meiosis known as?
Reductional division.
Reductional division. Perfect. And why is it called so? What is the logic behind it?
In mitosis, when the daughter cells are formed, they have the same number of chromosomes as the parents. And in meiosis, the number of chromosomes in the daughter cells gets halved.
So I can say ploidy remains same, right? Ploidy is the, you understand what is ploidy? So yes. There are two kind of, yes, Rabia, what is ploidy? What is ploidy, Rabi? You were giving the answer? Yeah.
It is the chromosomes, the set of chromosomes.
Yes, it is the copy number of the genome, not necessarily the set of chromosomes also. Yes, for one species, if you are talking, then you can stick to that definition, but there are two kind of cells. We call some cells as haploid, right? And some cells are called diploid. So if I ask you what is a haploid cells, and if I'm asking just about humans, so you can say a haploid cell is the one which contains only 23 chromosomes, right? By chromosome number, versus a diploid cell is the one which contains 46 chromosomes, right? This is what you will say?
Yes.
So you are right for humans. But if I ask you, what is the haploid cell of a frog or of a fruit fly, right? So fruit fly, which is a vinegar fly, which is a very small fly which hovers or sits on your fruits. Basically, fruit flies have just 8 chromosomes in a diploid cell. So in a haploid cell, it will have just 4 chromosomes, right? So you see the number of chromosomes vary differently if it is a haploid cell of human versus a haploid cell of a Drosophila, which is a fruit fly. Do you understand? That's why saying that it is a number of chromosome, half the number of chromosome, doesn't make much sense. Because if you say half the number of chromosome, then you have to define what is the full number of chromosome. And that is different from one species to another. Is it clear, Rabia?
Yes, sir.
So instead, a good way to remember and a more technically correct way in biology to remember haploidy and diploidy from your entrance and both boards perspective is you say that a haploid cell contains only one copy of the genome. Now, genome is whatever number of chromosomes that organism have and the total set of all the genes that the organism have. So if a butterfly has total 33,000 genes in a diploid cell, so the haploid will be half of it. A human has 28,000 genes, so a haploid will have half of it. Is it clear? In terms of number of genes and in terms of number of chromosomes. So that's why write down a haploid cell contains one copy of the genome. And we call it N. N means copy of genome, single, one N or N, simply N. We don't have to write one, right? Whereas a diploid cell contains two copies of the whole genome. And that's why it's called 2N. We denote it as 2N, okay? Now, this 2N means there are two copies. So where did these two copies came from? One copy came from the father and the other copy came from the mother, right? Make sense? In terms of gamete. And both the gametes fused together to make a zygote. Now, does it make sense why all the cells in our body are diploid, but only the gamete cells are haploid? Does it make sense, Iram and Rabia?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you're right that mitosis leads to ploidy remaining the same, which means if it is a diploid cell, it will divide and form more diploid cells. Okay. And how many daughter cells are produced from one mitosis cycle? Remember that?
Two.
Two. Yes, right. So if one cell is undergoing mitosis, as a result, two daughter cells are produced, right? So you can write down two daughter cells per cycle. But in case of meiosis, it is 4 daughter cells per cycle. Okay, because meiosis itself has 2 rounds of division to complete one cycle of the meiosis. Okay, so meiosis is further divided into, if you are recalling, I'm just brushing up your concept, it's called M1 or meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Remember that? And if we further go into the details of it, you will find that meiosis 1 has prophase, there's an interphase, and then in the M phase, which is the division phase, it is called prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, right? Yes, you remember that? Is it coming back to both of you?
Yes.
Perfect. So keep in mind all these information because it's going to be important when we are going to talk about recombination in the genetics unit. Okay. Anyways, but all these 4 daughter cells are haploid. 4 daughter cells, write down, all of them are haploid in meiosis, and these 2 daughter cells are diploid in mitosis mostly. Anything else you remember about meiosis and mitosis? Any important difference? Okay, so mitosis, where does mitosis happens in our body? Any idea? Can you give me any example where mitosis is happening? Yes, Iram. You're mute if you're speaking.
It is happening in somatic cells.
And what do you mean by that? So these are, I think it's term. So if I don't understand what is a somatic cell, where in my body, like, can you point out any region and tell me any circumstance in which mitosis is happening? Is mitosis happening right now in my body, or is there chances that mitosis might be happening?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I like that answer. Maybe, like, she's like, I'm not sure. Maybe or maybe not. Who knows? But under what circumstances do you think mitosis happens in the body? See, these are very
Cell
simple
repair,
questions. Sorry.
repairing.
Of course,
Can you get that?
perfect. Cell repair, maintenance, wear and tear, when you are recovering from injury, normal cell proliferation, making of blood cells, making of immune cells, making of WBCs in the body. Every time anything, any organ in our body, when it needs repair, it's undergoing mitosis. Is it clear? So mitosis is happening all the time, every time in our body. These cells, the ability of cells to divide through mitosis keeps on declining and declining as we grow old. So when we grow old, we call that the person has reached biological senescence or aging. As a result of aging, new cells are not formed, and the older cells they die, right? So what happens is we are not able to replenish. That's why elder people, like old people, are not able to recover from fractures, wounds, etc. very fast. That's the reason, right? But a young person in 20s or 30s might recover very fast from injuries, surgeries, and fractures, right? So this mitosis is happening everywhere in the body. So write down, mitosis takes place throughout the body for development, growth, and repair. In all somatic cells. In all somatic cells. Whereas, let's come to meiosis now. So Rabia, do you have any idea where does meiosis is happening in the body? And under what circumstances does meiosis also takes place? Every time, every day, every night? What do you think, Rabia? Am I audible, Rabia? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, since it's called reductional and also reproductional division, so it might occur in the sex cells.
Yes, you're perfectly right. Perfect answer. Meiosis only and only happens to make sex cells in the gonads. So in a male body, in a male human, everywhere in the body mitosis is happening. If the male is not very old and about to die because of aging, everywhere mitosis is happening, but only in the testes, in the seminiferous tubules of the testes to make sperms, meiosis is happening. Okay, so it's only related to sex cells. Okay, in a female body, it's happening in the ovaries. Okay, now let me tell you one thing. In the gonads also, be very careful. For the repair of gonad itself, for the development of gonad itself, mitosis happens. But only to produce sex cells in the gonads, meiosis happens. Is it clear? It's not like in the ovary, every type of division is just meiosis. Just the division which is responsible for making ovum, or the division which is responsible for making sperm, is meiotic. Every other division is mitotic, even in the gonads. Is it clear? Because gonad also is a normal organ which needs development, repair, and everything, right? Make sense, Rabia and Iram?
Yes.
Perfect. So this was meiosis, mitosis, and with this foundation clear, let's move ahead and talk about. Let me ask you a question. So you also went and revised hypothalamus, pituitary, and testes, endocrinal system, right? I gave you the homework. Now the question is, write down this question. It's also a board's question. So when a baby is born, let's think it like that. Okay. When a baby is born, let's say a male baby or a female human is born, it has testes, right? It has ovaries. Female has ovaries, male has testes. The female has penis. The female has all the accessory glands. The male has penis and all the accessory glands. I'm so sorry. The female has the vaginal canal, the uterus, the birth canal, and all the accessory glands. What does not, so can a baby just after birth, after some years, let's say 6 years, 7 years, can a male make sex cells in the body? Or can a female make ovum in the body?
No.
No, right? So we call that phase as sexually immature or juvenile phase, right? And only when a human reaches a stage which we call as puberty or adolescence, right? You must have heard of this term. Then all of a sudden, the male body starts making sperms, not just the sperms, but also the hormone, the male hormone which is associated with the testes, and the female body starts making and releasing ovum and the hormone associated, which is estrogen. So my question is, all the machinery, every organ is right there in the body of a male. So what was not allowing the male baby or the boy to produce sperms till the age of, or till it reaches puberty? There was some kind of a check and balance, right? Have you thought about it? And then all of a sudden, after 13 years, something happens, and then the male body starts producing sperm. Like it's like a magic all of a sudden. So it's not magic, right? There has to be a logic behind it. Even magic that magicians show on the stage has a logic behind it. Magic is nothing but an illusion, optical illusion done through very scientific ways, right? And this is our body. So have you thought what happens? How does the body knows that, okay, I'm 13 now? Because our eyes look at the candle we are cutting on the 13th birthday and our brain knows, oh, I'm 13 now. Let's start producing hormones. How do you think it happens? Rabia or Iram, anyone would like to give some insights? How do you think it happens? See, most of the time, how you think the world works, and if you're logical, it actually works like that only. So never be shy or hesitant. Give all the wrong answers. You are not being judged at all for giving wrong answers. In fact, I like students who give answers, even if it is wrong. I treat a wrong answer as good as a right answer in the class. It's a participation. So what do you think is happening? Do you think that there is some kind of a coordination between the organs of the body? You agree with me? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you also agree that our body somehow knows our biological age? Even if I want to, cheat and make a forged certificate of my age, but my biology, if I'm 8 years old and I make a certificate saying that I'm 5 years old, will my puberty also be delayed? No, right? My body knows my biological age and keeps a track of it. Even if I don't celebrate my birthday, even if I forge my certificates, even if I lie about my date of birth, my body knows. So there is a very precise control and coordination between organs and their age, correct? So how do you think all of this is coordinated? The hint is in class 11th, you have studied something, two kinds of coordinations in our body. Yes, chapter, I think 21 and 22, if I'm not. So one kind of coordination is called the neural coordination. Neural coordination is very important for day-to-day activities, even to lift a pen or to speak or to hear something and reply back. Our neurons have to be in coordination with our whole body. And there is another coordination, which was, what was that coordination?
Chemical
Chemical coordination, right? And chemical coordination is through hormones. Anyone remembers what are hormones?
They are non-protein.
Yes, right. They are non-protein. What? There can be peptide hormones as well, steroid and peptide hormones. So instead of saying non-protein, not all hormones are non-protein. I don't know why NCERT says that, but they are of course non-nutrient. They are non-nutritive. So you cannot drink hormone and get nutrition out of it. There are two reasons for it. One, hormone is produced in very trace amount in the body. Okay. Can you name any hormone? Any famous hormone? Let me give a hint. Diabetes, one hormone associated with diabetes.
Insulin.
Insulin, perfect. Insulin is a hormone that signals our cells to take glucose from the blood, and the blood glucose level goes down, right? It's a hormone. To just make a drop of, to just purify and take out a drop of insulin, how many human pancreas do you need? A drop of insulin. Purified insulin, just insulin, nothing else. Any idea? Just a guess. 1 pancreas, 2 pancreas. It will take around 150 to 200 pancreas. Okay. So it's that trace in our body. So hormones are very, very low concentration. They are just circulating everywhere in the body. They are just like messengers. They just need to go and stick to the right receptor and tell that organ or that cell or that tissue that, okay, I have brought this signal from the brain or wherever I am released from, and I want you to do this XYZ action. So they are just messenger molecules. That's why they are non-nutritive. Okay, most of the time non-protein, non-proteinaceous as well. So the question is, write down this question. It's a board question. How is the male reproductive system regulated? How is the male reproductive system regulated? Whenever this question comes, this question will come for female as well. And let me tell you, it will be almost identical apart from the part where the ovaries and testes are involved. Okay, but overall from the top it is same. So it all starts with hypothalamus. Okay, what is hypothalamus? The word hypo means
Lower.
perfect. It says low, and thalamus is a region in the brain, right? We know thalamic region. It's in the center of the brain somewhere. If you dig from here, if you go to the center, there will be thalamus below the cortex. So the upper part, like if you touch your head, the brain region, that's all cortex. Frontal cortex, temporal cortex, optic back lobe, and all these. Beneath the cortex in the center is thalamus, and hypothalamus is even below the thalamus. That's why it's called lower to thalamus. Hypothalamus. Make sense? The name tells you the location itself. Below the thalamus, hypothalamus. Now hypothalamus secretes two kinds of hormones, as you know from class 11th. One is called activatory, which is releasing hormones. The other is called inhibitory hormones, right? Which inhibit. And hypothalamus goes and acts on just one organ, which is called pituitary. Do you remember that, people?
Yes.
Pituitary gland.
Yes.
Pituitary gland is called the master gland of the endocrine system because this gland can produce a plethora of hormones to communicate with almost every organ in the body: gut, stomach, kidneys, liver, testes, ovaries, pancreas, even regions in the brain itself. So pituitary gland and overall body. So pituitary gland, so hypothalamus releases GnRH. Write down the full form. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. Hypothalamus secretes GnRH, which is called gonadotropin. Should I write it? Gonadotropin releasing hormone. And this hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone, goes and acts on pituitary. And now you can tell me by the name what message is it going to give the pituitary? Yes.
To release the hormones in gonads.
But pituitary is in the brain. How can it release the hormone in gonad? It will make something secreted from the pituitary. You are right. You are along the right course. You are just not framing your answer well. So think about it. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. So it will go and tell the pituitary to release gonadotropin, right? Gonadotropins are the hormones that will now go and act and bind where? The name gonad. They will go and signal the gonads. And what are the gonads in males? Testes. Yes. So gonadotropins will go and tell the testes to secrete what?
Testosterone hormone.
Exactly. Testosterone. Perfect.
Testosterone.
And we know that there are two kinds of functions that testes does. It's a dual organ. So there will be more than one signal. One signal will be to tell the testes to start secreting its own hormone called testosterone. The other signal will be to tell the testes to do what?
A formation of sperms.
Perfect. Synthesis of sperm. Okay. So both the functions of testes are regulated by this endocrine system. So hypothalamus secretes GnRH. GnRH, okay, goes and act on pituitary. From pituitary are secreted gonadotropins. Now there are many types of gonadotropins, but two which you have to study in detail. One is called FSH and the other is called LH. About both you have studied in class 11th. They are gonadotropins secreted from pituitary. What does FSH stands for?
Follicle stimulating hormone.
Yes, it stands for follicle stimulating hormone. And LH? Luteinizing hormone.
Luteinizing hormone.
Okay, perfect. Now pay attention here. Males do not have follicles. Follicles are present in ovaries. And these hormones which are secreted from pituitary is same in male and female. Yes, Iram, your voice is cracking for me. Am I clearly audible to Rabia? I just wanted to check if it's my network or Iram's.
Yes,
Rabia, am I? Okay, Iram, your voice is cracking, breaking in between. You can try turning off your video if that helps. Sometimes it helps to give the bandwidth to your audio. Yes, and now ask.
Yeah, it's fine, right?
Yes, it is better. Yes, it's better. Tell me, what is your question?
No, I was just asking whether my voice is lacking or yours.
Yeah, I think it's the it's a bandwidth thing. It's fine. It's fine. So I was saying that FSH and LH is common gonadotropin both in males and females, but how they function now is very different. So both of them, both FSH and LH, will go, and in case of males, they will go and act on testes. Sorry, just one S. Okay, and FSH, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, will tell the testes to start spermatogenesis. Okay, initiate spermatogenesis. And LH tells the testes to start secreting testosterone. Okay, is it clear? So they have these specific messages. FSH goes and say, okay, you need to start spermatogenesis. And the testis says, yes, sir, I will. Then LH comes and says, you also have to start secreting testosterone. And testis says, okay, yes, sir. But then once it is secreted, the testosterone takes care of every other thing. So FSH is no longer required in that amount. So testosterone will send a feedback to testes and will maintain spermatogenesis. So in NEET, one question came, which hormone is responsible for maintaining spermatogenesis in males at any given age? And everyone chose FSH, most of them, because this is what we understand. FSH just initiates spermatogenesis. Once testosterone is in the system, testosterone can send a feedback and can keep maintaining spermatogenesis. So sperm will continue to form because of testosterone, but they cannot start to form if FSH is not there. Is it clear, Hiram and Rabia?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So to begin, FSH is important, but then to maintain the spermatogenesis cycle, testosterone is enough. Okay, very good. And exactly this is the point where we say that the male has reached puberty. Okay. So the moment your brain understands, a male brain understands that, okay, this is the time that the boy is no longer a boy and the boy has reached puberty, adolescent. So it's time that from a juvenile phase, it enters into a reproductively mature phase. And that signals comes from hypothalamus. And of course, you will ask, how does hypothalamus know our biological age? So there are other mechanisms by which, because there are growth hormones being secreted by the same pituitary, and there are many other mechanisms by which we know how old we are. We means our body knows how old it is. And then hypothalamus, after an age, starts secreting GnRH, which was not being secreted from day one of the birth to 13 years of age in boys. Let's say it was not secreted, then all of a sudden it will start secreting. GnRH will or it will start secreting in higher quantities, I should say, comparatively. Then GnRH will start stimulating pituitary to produce gonadotropins, FSH and LH. These gonadotropins will go and act on testes. FSH will tell to initiate spermatogenesis. LH will tell to start secreting testosterone. And then testosterone will have a feedback mechanism to maintain spermatogenesis. That is the first function of testosterone. But that's not the only function. What are the other functions? The second and the most important, not the most important, but another important function of testosterone is to induce secondary sexual characters in males. So testosterone, that's why if you see a 6-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, will you be able to make a lot of difference between the two kids, apart from the grooming that parents did? Because boys, of course, will be in male attires, wearing jeans and shirts and what the society has decided as a norm. Females, a 6-year-old girl will be wearing mostly frock or something which identifies her gender. But if I make them wear the same thing, if their hair length is also same, and if you groom them in a similar manner, it will be slightly difficult to differentiate a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old male and a female. Even their voices are equally high-pitched and shrill, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because before both of them has reached puberty and before these sexual hormones has started playing a role, everything in their body was about non-sexual things. So there was growth hormone in their body. Growth hormone is same in everybody. All other hormones are same in both male and female body. They were growing, developing, their organs were growing, their brains were developing, they were doing mitosis. No meiosis was happening in their system at all. So they were just like same. When they hit puberty, after that, boys start becoming boyish. They start getting secondary sexual characters of a male, and girls start becoming girls, and they start developing secondary sexual characters of a female. Now, why do we call it secondary sexual characters? Because the primary characters are present from birth. Okay, and the another most important primary character to produce gametes start at puberty. So the organs are present by birth. Gametogenesis starts at puberty. But the secondary sexual character starts at this stage. So what are secondary sexual characters? Anyone would like to tell me? In a male, we're talking about males here.
Low pitch voice.
Sorry, come again.
Voice, change in voice, like low pitch or deep voice.
Yes, in case of males, the voice becomes low pitched, or you can call it coarse. There's a coarser voice, or deep. The voice deepens. Okay, deep voice. And why does this happens? The reason for this is development of the larynx, which is called Adam's apple, right? So when male reaches puberty, beyond puberty, it's very evidently, so you can see in the throat, the Adam's apple, the larynx of the males starts protruding a little bit out, and that makes the voice deeper and coarse. So that's called Adam's apple. Okay. Basically, it's the voice box that develops. Perfect. Anything else? Just the voice?
Facial hair.
Yes, right. Facial and pubic hairs development. So there are different kind of hairs on a human body. Hair on the scalp, the hair of the eyebrows, they're all common. They are even present in juveniles. But certain kind of hair, which are like facial hair, like mustache and beard in case of males, and pubic hairs present near the gonadal region and at the softer corners of the body, like armpits, those develop after adolescence or after the human reaches puberty. So facial and pubic hair development is another thing. So in case of males, facial hairs is a major determinant to recognize males. Okay, and musculature. Yes, musculature. So musculature is growth of the muscles, as we call. So male starts developing more muscles as compared to females naturally because of testosterone. So testosterone, as we were discussing in previous classes, a female athlete on a very good training regime also develop muscles, right? I'm pretty sure both of you know Mary Kom, the fighter,
Yes.
the boxer from
Yes,
India. Yeah, I don't think any normal male can stand Mary Kom in that ring. Depend howsoever well built muscles or how well you do the gymming and things. She's a fighter, she's a boxer. Her muscles at any given point of time are stronger than almost all the males in the society, right? If she will only be out competed or competed well with someone like a male boxer of her same category, but not by any other normal males. So musculature depends on testosterone, and in athletes who are on training and who are very active, the levels of testosterone in their circulation is higher than what it is in the normal women's body. Okay, so that's why I said in the last class that it's not exclusively a male hormone, but for now, for you to make your base and give your boards, just know that testosterone is in males, estrogen is in females. Is that clear, Hiram and Rabia?
Yes.
But you should know that biology is not all black and white. Biology has a lot of shades. Anyway, so musculature is one which differentiates. Anything else? Facial hairs, adamantles. Because of testosterone, there is something called sexual drive that develops. It's called every organism which is sexually reproducing, higher organism on the planet, especially mammals, and even birds, reptiles, and amphibians, and even fish, they have this sexual drive, even insects. So sexual drive is where this hormone goes in a cycle. Sometimes this hormone production will be high, and the males will have more urge to reproduce. So in wild animals, that's called the heat period, or the sexual basic sexual desire. In humans, why humans are different, or in what criteria humans are different from other wild animals, one thing is we can keep our desires in our control, right? Other animals can't. They are just driven by animal instincts, but humans are not. Humans are trained in a society, and we are bound by morals, ethics to keep our drives in control and channelize our energies and drives in a very socially accepted and ethical manner. But sexual drive is still true. In fact, the whole evolution is driven by the sexual desire and hunger. If humans were not hungry 3 times a day, and if humans did not had sexual drive where they fight with other males to become the alpha of the clan, because humans at one point of time used to live in clans, right, as wanderers, and then they settled as agricultural clans, but still there was hierarchy. Someone will be the alpha leader of the clan and others will be the subordinate, and we used to follow the same rule. Even still now, in many parts of the world where there are tribals living, the tribals do not live through democracy. They don't vote to choose their leader like we do in a civilized democratic societies. We vote to make our prime ministers and presidents and things like that. In tribal areas, it's mostly the most stronger, challenging male will be the leader of the clan, and when he grows old, or anyone who wants to challenge have to defeat, just like animal laws. Is it clear, Iram and Rabia? But that really drove evolution of humans. And females have always been fierce warriors right from the beginning, because one thing that females have to do where they require a lot of skill and a lot of fierceness is, can you tell me what is that? If you have watched Discovery and you have seen a lioness, there is one specific period during which even a lion does not dare to go near a lioness, or a tiger near a tigress. Any idea what is that? What do females do that males cannot do in nature?
Give birth.
Exactly, give birth to babies. Females are fiercely protective for their babies, right? So it's said that if there's a tigress or a lioness walking with cubs, you better not go near, or better not give any kind of a hint to the female that the babies are in danger. The female will just rip anyone apart, even the lion, trying to harm the babies. So yes, females have always been fierce to protect their babies in wild, and the same still goes even in instincts in humans. So you will say mothers are always so protective for their kids, right? They don't differentiate most of the times, and they are very protective, and they can go beyond even societal norms, because that is hardwired in their basic instincts to protect their kids. Okay, in many species, fathers also do the same. Like in some species of fish, fathers are super protective about their young ones, the eggs. They drive away females because females might eat those eggs. So it's completely opposite a parental behavior shown in those organisms, where fathers just protect. In case of seahorse, seahorse keep all their babies inside the mouth. After the mother, about seahorse? It looks something like a horse, like this. It has a tail, right? You understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
It has fins. So seahorse, when the female lay the eggs, all the embryos are gulped by the male, and someone who's looking at this behavior for the first time will think, oh, the male ate all the babies, but that's not true. It keeps it in the pouch, in the abdomen, protected. And then once they are a little mature, it then brings each baby out from the mouth one by one. Like there are 20, 30, 40 babies coming out, which were protected by the father. So it's there, but mostly it's female behavior. Okay. And that's because of one such behavior is because of sexual drive, and it is when the testosterone levels are high in circulation. Okay. Then comes the sexual drive or masculine drive of the males. So all of these are, and this is where from this point onwards, the erection or erectability of the penile structure or the penis tissue begins in males. Okay. And also ejaculation of sperm. So there is one very common thing. Also, when I teach, so it's a coincidence that there is no male in this class as of now. But whenever I teach this chapter, I always make them aware that there must have been a time when all the males must have gone through puberty. And it's equally confusing times for the male and the females both, because they do not know about what's happening to them, and they often get scared, especially females. But even in males, what happens is when this spermatogenesis begins, body testes is making sperms in millions and millions and millions of sperms every day. Okay. And the male has no use for the sperms because the male is just 13, 14, 15, 16. The male is not going to get married and not going to sire offsprings. So there's no use for those sperms, but the sperms are getting constantly produced because testis does not know that you don't have to produce now. So what happens is the system clears excess of the sperms during sleep, and that's called the nightfall. It's an involuntary ejaculation, which is known as the nightfall. So when the male is sleeping, in the sleep, the sperm ducts will just give a signal to the brain. The brain will send a signal back, which is an involuntary signal to the testes, and they will just ejaculate in their sleep. And then they'll be very confused and thinking, oh, what's happening to me? But that's completely normal. And the similar thing happens in females when they reach puberty, is where their menstrual cycle begins, right? So imagine, I'm pretty sure that both of you must have gone through that phase and come out very brave, understanding things about your own anatomy and physiology. But it's very important to tell these young girls that it's okay, nothing has happened. Because imagine waking up one day and you see blood coming out of your body, anyone will just freak out, anyone. And then you have to make them understand it's okay, it's a natural process, it happens, you're not ill, you're not sick, nothing's going to happen to you, it's fine. Plus female reproductive cycle is even more complex because in mammals the female uterus prepares itself every month. So this cycle is going to get repeated every month, whereas this concept of nightfall in males slows down, and after some point of time it stops. It's not happening because by that time the system also starts reabsorbing and degrading the sperms back and reusing the resources. Okay, so that's one difference. We will talk about the female system in the next class, but before that I will also dictate you certain aspects of the male system in detail, like Sertoli cells, Leydig cells, what are their functions. So in the next class, no, before going to female cycle, we have to do this. So this we will do in the next class, spermatogenesis. So your homework for today is to write a short paragraph. Write down your homework, Rabia and Iram. You have to write short paragraphs on the glands, accessory glands of the male reproductive system. What do they secrete? Their composition. So 3 glands are there: seminal vesicle, bulbourethral, and prostate gland. Okay. And then you have to write a short paragraph on spermatogenesis based on your reading from NCERT. That's it. Whatever you understand. No need to worry, because it will be very easy now. In today's class, we understood mitosis, meiosis. We also understood the hormonal regulation. So it will be easier for us to understand spermatogenesis in the next class. Okay, is that clear, Iram and Rabia?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We also
sir.
discussed some aspects of female reproductive system. So the hormonal regulation is going to be same, except for the part where it comes to this part. So FSH and LH in a female system goes to ovaries, and what happens after ovaries is slightly different.